Over to you, George, your case study.
Great, thank you. So yes, obviously I thought I'd quickly take you through what I've been doing the last 8 weeks and take on a bit of a step-by-step of the hypotheses we sort of went throughout the course and the techniques that we used during it, or that I used during it. But first of all, really quick look at the principles that I had before I started Prod MBA and how, well, these are the adapted versions of those, and how useful the course was in changing the way I think. These were very loose when I started, but essentially, I used to really consider things quite simply as, are they feasible, desirable, and viable? And now I feel this is a much more fleshed out process and thought behind them, because we're talking more about an offer, which has really resonated with me throughout the course. And this process particularly, defining that offer and refining that offer. So thinking about an acute problem, making sure it's compelling, testing it, evolving it, and setting yourself up for growth. That's something, part of the course, that I've found incredibly useful, and hopefully that should come through in the case study I'm going to go through. So first and foremost, in ideation, which for me, I thought I'd be really good at, because I've prided myself for years on being able to come up with ideas, but I think I always had a problem to solve. So doing that from scratch was amazing sticking point to sort of overcome, and I feel I'm better armed to do so. But the problem statement that I came up with was that we believe that parents are overwhelmed by the amount of choice when buying products for their children. Being a parent myself, it's something I had first-hand experience of. So this was the first hypothesis, and this was tested going out to relatively close contacts at first, but spreading the net in a lot of in more and more as I needed to. Couldn't just bug my NCT friends. Talking more and more to people about this problem, asked them to cast their mind back, because most of them already had children, and get these 10 interviews. Ended up with 19, which was incredibly valuable, and something that's, I think, more and more as I go through the product process in my own job, it's not something we've really done. It's been a whiteboard and a lot of consideration, and okay, let's go build. We've got a great idea, but this idea of making sure any problem's acute really has hit home. So 19 user reviews, which I felt was really successful, and gave me a really good validation of this problem, this hypothesis, and building this potential offer. So the key points I took out of the interviews I had were, there's a lot you don't know till you have the baby. So there's a lot of unknown unknowns. So people want someone to help with this. And it helped define my idea of a trusted destination, bit of creating a trusted destination for overwhelmed parents. And some of the people within my niche validated this problem, specifically the overwhelmed parent that sort of started with. From there, we moved on to the Blue Ocean Canvas. So having used the interviews with my niche to build a more specific idea of this sort of problem to solve, this was a really useful tool for defining where the differentiation is within the market versus people that are already there. So looking at potential competitors like Amazon or NetMums, seeing what they offer, and identifying really clearly with this process the points of difference. And again, it's not something that I've done in the past. We've known that we perhaps want to be competitive with products in market, but perhaps been just evolving their ideas a little bit more rather than defining actual space between our products. So this was incredibly useful. And from there, building that minimum viable offer, that MVO, which was, again, a step away from the MVP that I'd always focused on, which can really be quite cluttered. I'm experiencing firsthand now. It can become unwieldy very quickly and have to keep going back to the fact that it's a minimum viable product. But defining it as an offer keeps it so much more simple, makes it so much more, I don't want to say lean or agile, because it's not quite the right use of it in the context, but I feel, was really helpful. And from here, even the original offer was, we were going to help parents find the right products to match their needs with tailored, reliable recommendations. But after doing the Typeform survey and using that sort of technique of expanding kind of the reach of your niche to find more people to get responses from, it was really, really apparent that it's new parents that I need to be focusing on. So refining that niche even further And that was, again, really helpful, because I think you could have gone to market with that first offer and just wasted a lot of time, which is just not helpful to anyone. So yes, using Typeform, building a survey, generating more and more responses there, to help. I think I've mistyped here. We've got 19 responses here. I've got 7 interviews in the first instance, but 19 questionnaire responses that help really refine what's carried, as it started to be known, should look like. And even here, I'm still focusing on broadly on parents, but that new parents came out of these questionnaires and the responses, and refining that and making it more tangible and more valuable for people. So here we go. That validation that came, and how it changed, carried, became a trusted destination for overwhelmed new parents to give them tailored product recommendations with reassuring advice. And again, that new parents tweak seemed to make all the difference, because straight away when I was talking to more people, that was the thing that really resonated. They sort of said, oh yeah, when I was first a parent, that was a problem. Whereas now you're handing down to your second, or your kids are so old that you're not so worried about the car seat, because there's, you're just buying a booster seat. You're not buying that first thing for your newborn to carry in the first weeks of its life. So yeah, that was really, really quite a specific thing to latch onto and to discover with the process.
Sorry, just to interrupt on talk me through the thinking of it's great, by the way, I really like it, but that's overwhelmed new parents giving tailored product recommendations with reassuring advice. Is that like a really key part, the with reassuring advice?
Yeah, because I think that, and that's a good question, that one of the other pieces that came out of the interviews was that they don't want us to be told, buy this product. They want to know why. They want to know it's safe. They want to know it's got all these awards and recommendations, and it's credible. That later on it became clear they need the person giving advice to be credible, but then they need the product to be credible. And it's just that another piece of reassurance that they are buying the right thing for all the reasons that they've defined. And something that the product longer term would be a sort of questionnaire to help define that tailoring, and with it would come the reassurance, because we'd be scraping lots of different sources to gain that reassurance and build that recommendation. Whereas early on, the reassurance was much more from a parent. It would be myself perhaps giving advice from my own experience. So I think it's multi-layered, that reassurance. Just a load of positive badges of award wins, but also a past experience, making them confident they're buying the right thing. So then the third hypothesis was to take that validated offer and then get it out into market to more people. And as this was at first felt like more of an e-commerce proposition, I went to build first a Shopify website, which because I didn't have a product to sell apart from advice, became a bit unwieldy. So I moved on to Squarespace, which just had a little bit more flexibility. And from there, I could build quite a simple user journey, which was just a few pages of explaining what the offer was, little bit of top line of what the service offered, although it became quite clear from the visits and post-visit interviews that I needed to really drill down on what that value exchange was, and a simple offer of, explain to us what you need and we will come back to you with a product. Just a 3-stage, a lot of people refer to it as just a landing page when they visited, helping explain what we were putting out in market. And I used some from recommendation for other people on the cohort, some Hotjar, used Hotjar, I should say, to get a sense of how people were using the site, and that helped me move content and refine things. And I did some minor tweaks with the call to action, which, well, when they say minor, the language was minor, but quite fundamental, more sort of direct messaging around, get free advice rather than just let us help. And that was really helpful, as I saw the visits, sort of page views and dwell time increase, although sadly no one actually committed. And that was something that came out in the post-visit interviews, that everyone that I spoke to understood the offer, They understood the value of what I was putting on the table. They just didn't know what they were getting. They didn't know that the response was going to be instant or a week, and it was going to be a questionnaire, a conversation, a call. So I had to go back and rethink how I was going to do this, because I wanted to keep it quite lean, and also no code, because I couldn't quite build what I wanted. So from there I moved sort of into thinking about it more as a more in-depth service online, and built up my customer journey map, and also my wireframe. And the customer journey map was really interesting, because straight away I realized the value of that. Again, that came back to that reassurance. People are going to, thinking as a consumer myself, I'm going to get to a website, I want to know what I'm getting, and why I'm getting it, and where that sort of justification of that offer is coming from. So it was really interesting going through that step-by-step journey, and then building out that wireframe, because again, it's not something I've ever done in building product before at this stage. Certainly it's more been a later, once you've actually got something much more near finished, probably even in beta. So building that customer journey map and wireframing was really valuable, and helped me define that I want it to be more of an automated step-by-step process that felt like it had some AI smarts behind it, but really was just an intelligent type form survey that led you to disclose information of what you were looking for, and then a panel of parents that I built sort of reassuring content around would come back with a recommendation. So still playing to the original offer, but just I think perhaps more scalable and a lot more in-depth explanation, so people would actually carry on through the journey, whereas the original was just too vague, I think. So next steps, new content for the site, more explanation of the process, which is in that wireframe, but building that out. Explanation of what the parent panel is, and how my journey got me to this point as well, because people said that was really interesting, the story behind the product itself. Build some newsletter content so people have some value straight away, even if they're not getting recommended advice. And then build in things like the NPS post sign up. I haven't done that yet, but then no one converted. So it would have been a bit redundant, but I just didn't get around to it. I'd like to add a chatbot as well. Maybe some simple chatbot functionality, or just direct speak to me if I'm online functionality. But starting, I think, with a Figma prototype before I build up all that content, but this is kind of the general plan. Given time, I've meant to talk about this a little bit, but I found a huge amount of value in the course and the process. That idea of solving a problem with an offer is really quite compelling, and one that I've spoken to my immediate businesses team about. But I think these 5 points alone are techniques that I will take into my day to day. And I've already been talking more and more about, as I say, offers with the team, and differentiation. Particularly that differentiation strategy was really valuable in my current job as a product that is more expensive than the market, but has a USP. So making sure we state that. Otherwise, that's it from me.
Awesome. That was perfect timing. I mean, you still had 2 minutes actually. You're
Well,
putting yourself under pressure.
I was speaking far too quickly, but there we go.
No. Honestly, it was really good. I mean, actually, I'll come to this later. But my main point is I thought presentation skills were excellent. I mean, that was really, really slick.
Thank you.
I'll quickly through specific points on case study, and then we can talk about, I think, next steps here.
Yeah. Should I keep sharing, or?
No, you can turn it off if you want. So the principles were excellent. I think really simple. I'm going to steal those for the template next time. Really simple. It's like, rather than a long list, it's just like, what do we like? Do people want this? Can we build it?
It's the funniest thing, though. I think I spoke about it when we first pre-course, and I was like, I've got to have a process, so I wrote it on a post-it.
Yeah, well, there you go. But it's great, because it's, again, like, you as someone more senior, like, this kind of thing you can pass on to people. But the simpler the message, the more likely they are to take it away with them. So I think it's great. Some of the process, it didn't actually feel rushed. I told you to obviously don't get bogged down. You went through them very quickly. They're self-explanatory because your writing was clear. So actually those were very good. Problem statement as well was crystal clear. I think really well written. And again, copywriting is so important, particularly in a remote world. So this is a really key skill. Hypothesis 1. Sorry, you said you got 7 interviews rather than 90, because I was going to go.
Yeah. God, I got my numbers mixed up. I got 7 in the first stage and then 19 type form.
That was it, yeah. No, I was going to say that was awesome, but 7's still very good. Really good. The good results. I liked as well. You added sort of the learnings that you had. So it's like, it's clear like why you were doing this stuff from you as a business, but you personally as George as well, which is interesting. Love the visual overlay as well. Common mistake I see is, someone will show all these Excel sheets, and if you're not someone in the Prod MBA, you're like, what the hell is that? So just adding like, here's the key takeaway, really good. Again, something I might steal for us in future. Blue Ocean, good, but there were way too many high points. You were 9s and 10s on everything. Your blue space, great. Like aim for 9 and 10. Everything else, you can go for 3, 4, maybe a couple of 6 and 7.
Right.
Nice format that we're integrating this for the next cohort called the ERRC. It's eliminate, reduce. What's the next one? Raise and create.
Nice. Basically
saying like, what do we just completely forget about? Taking what we taught, but frame it. Like, what do we completely forget about? What do we leave at a 2 or a 3? What do we raise? It's sort of important. And then create. What are the things we have to be 10 at that nobody else is doing?
Nice.
So I'll be sending.
And you think, sorry, the 9s and 10s you think on my competitive set, or
basically you can't
my own stuff as well?
You're never going to be good.
Got it. Oh yeah, mine as well. Got it.
So you'd be disciplined about. I'm going to show you an example actually. It's coming out in the new sneak peek at the new content. When it loads. So it's like, okay, we're yellow.
Right.
This is literally Prod MBA. Right. What do we just? We don't even play in this space. Reduce. Yeah, we don't care. Right.
Yeah.
We don't think it's that important. And then what do we think is still really important, like leadership skill? What do we want to really nail? Product strategy, product lifecycle, these kinds of things.
I think that's really,
So
that's
I'm
nice.
going to be sending out, by the way, new content and workshops that are way more actionable for your cohort as well. So you can sort of revisit some of the topics.
Nice.
But saying that, that's our fault for not communicating it clearly, I think, in the content. Right. So I think this ERRC thing will really help. Other points. Hypothesis 2, MBA was good. You really clear explanation. Why you did it, why it's important, the reasons to not jump to an MVP. Again, these are really important things if you're trying to pitch internally. Like, hey, there's this new thing called an MBA. You need to be really good at explaining what that is. Nice again with the nice learning around refining the niche around new parent. And again, if you're pitching this internally, making that point crystal clear, right? We could have gone to market with this and we would have wasted loads of time and money and resources. So these are such important things in how you sell it internally.
Yeah.
Vision was very strong. Hypothesis 3 was strong. Really nice wording. I actually, again, better than the template. You talked about sort of very clear, right? We're going to just validate a lean web version of our offer. That's basically what we're doing. Again, good learning with that. Customer journey map, good learning, great visuals when you sort of had those 3 screenshots together. Again, nice to see your personal learning. Final point, I really like that parent panel idea. I think you skip the need to like become this sort of big authority. But like, here are some real parents. And I think that's going to be really smart, like a hack ultimately to gain authority and trust.
I thought I'd go back to the 7 first interviewees and say, would you be on that panel?
Exactly.
And have some value exchange for them too, potentially.
Right? Parents are looking for advice from other parents rather than lifestyle magazine or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, generally wrapping it up, presentation skills are really good. Probably the best so far, actually. Despite you.
Thank you.
No, I wasn't prepped for it.
I've been up at 5 and then I've had like 8 calls this morning. I want to do some prep.
No, it was good, honestly. And I think, general points and takeaways for you. I think like it's been really good having you in the program, like always contributing a lot. I know as well, you're like relatively new to product. So I think you've been out of your comfort zone. You've come in with as well, which is great because there's been a visible transformation, right? A lot of learning. Cool. And I think, next steps is just putting these things into action. So I really like that you had that slide of like, here are the things that I want to put into action. And you should, make yourself accountable to that. And I think just be confident doing that. You don't have to jump in with a product strategy decider with like founders and key stakeholders. Try it out with a small team on a Friday afternoon, just to start getting a bit more comfortable. And in June the 7th, we're going to start releasing the new content, which is making it like everything is in Miro, so there's no excuse to not apply these things. So I love
Miro. I wasn't aware of the tool, but the way you guys use it, it's just
I'm just trying to strip everything down even more. So like there's no excuse from July to not be putting everything into action. So I think that would be my sort of next step for you to do, is make sure you're putting it into action.
I think, and to be really clear on those like last points, the 5 sort of techniques, all of it's going to be useful to me personally. I think those are the 5 that I want us to adopt as a business when we're approaching things. And different, even the sales guys, I want them to, obviously the differentiation strategy. I want them to understand that right the way through to the product guys who will obviously have a deeper understanding of more of it.
Yeah, no, great. Because it's your organization is you can be bad at execution, but you can't be bad at the strategy stuff. Because otherwise you're never going to build the right thing. So I think if you can train people up with these frameworks and keep selling it internally, then you very quickly you're going to start having a big impact.
Cool.
And that would be what to take everything and put it into action. I think is the basic next step.
Definitely will. I think the only thing that I'm struggling with, and I don't know if it's like you'd have advice on it or you have a way of managing it, but it's keeping key stakeholders at bay when they don't quite have an appreciation of, we did this in 8 weeks and that was incredible. But I think you said at one stage, you'd probably do the first part over 3 months, potentially, like finding a problem. I keep being asked, can we showcase the new platform? And I'm like, we're in sprint 2, guys. There's just nothing to show yet.
So the beauty of these tools is that you can get quick results and get buy-in on that. So I think that's the thing, is to have these conversations early. So if you're starting like a new initiative in 3 months, like all of these frameworks you're doing now, you've got to do them now, so that when 3 months, say when you start like working on a solution, these discussions have been had, right? Everyone's sort of aligned on what you're going to do. But it's a big challenge with stakeholder management.
Non-product people,
But no, I think that's it. So I think from my side, as I said, let's stay in touch over Slack. Like any questions, obviously, on putting these things into action, feel free to reach out. But I think you're in a good place now. You've got the foundation. It's now just like doing it, right? No one's going to hold your hand. I can give you all the advice you want, but it's about just taking the principles, frameworks, and trying to work out how to fit them in your context ultimately.
Get shit done, as I think you said a few times, loud and clear. It's been really helpful. I've really enjoyed it. I remember when we first started talking about the first week with the ideation and how far out of my comfort zone I was just like, God, I've signed myself up for the wrong thing completely. And I never thought of stopping, but I was like, I don't know where to start. But no, it's been brilliant. Good.
No, really glad to hear. Well,
I'll get that certificate up on LinkedIn as well. And start singing your praises a bit more. I'm meant to do it all the way through the course. Because I know Andy did, who I know from the previous cohort. And I meant to do the same, but it's been a manic time. But I want to do some promotion and let people know you guys are doing a good thing.
No, I always appreciate it as well. Well, have a good weekend then. I think, as I said, any questions on putting stuff into action, just reach out. Happy to help.
Will do.
Cheers, George.
Great. Cheers, Henry. You too.